Hello and welcome to ICA Podcast. ICA Consulting is an international business consultancy with the head office in London. We strive for the greater purpose, your business's growth and profitability. Our services range from your business processes optimization all the way to the mergers and acquisitions and capital rising. Please enjoy the podcast and do not hesitate to contact us via our website. Today, we're introducing our legal compliance expert with over 15 years of experience, who advises on international tax, wealth preservation, financial services legislation, and other legal matters. Please welcome Dr. Jonathan De Giovanni. Hello, Jonathan. Nice
Hi,
to see
Paulina.
you.
Hi.
Welcome to ICA Podcast. How are you today?
I am very well, thank you. London is sunny, so it's always nice to see a sunny London.
Yeah, thank you for bringing some from Malta.
We try. We don't always manage, but we try.
Jonathan, you are the first guest on the ICA Podcast. Jonathan is our legal expert, as you know. So here we're just going to ask you a bit of a personal question
For
up
sure.
front. How did you get to this industry and how did this happen to you? And what are the things that you liked about it and what is exciting about this?
That's a really interesting question, actually, Paulina, because I got into the industry at a time when the industry was booming in Malta. And it wasn't so common for a lawyer those days to embark on a studying journey that I had started. In fact, I primarily specialized in international tax and financial services. And back then in Malta, it was more usual, so to speak, to go onto a criminal law career, a civil law career, or simply corporate or commercial, whereas I decided to specialize in international tax, which back then was something quite innovative. I don't regret it. I specialized in international tax in London, also in financial services in Malta, with a master's also in Malta and an advanced diploma in London. And to be honest, I knew that the industry was destined to boom in a different manner. And I've witnessed the industry grow. I've witnessed the industry become very different. Despite
In what way? In what sense?
Despite my young age, I've been 15 years doing
Yeah.
this. So without giving away my age, 15 years is a long time, particularly when you see an evolving tax landscape, an evolving regulatory landscape. Nowadays, we speak much more about AML. We speak anti-money laundering. We speak about compliance. We speak about compliance culture. All these things have not only become synonymous in Malta with a better way of doing business, but also worldwide, I would say. We're seeing this happening in other countries apart from Malta, other European countries, the UK, Dubai. We're seeing it everywhere. Because a compliance culture is synonymous with good business, and good business is synonymous with value added, moving away from those structures with funny holding entities which mean nothing and companies which have no purpose. But instead, today we're seeing, even in Malta, a more developed value added proposition from clients. We see very, very, very intelligent, I would say, and I'm not so technological myself as an aside, so any tech company that comes to our offices ready to set up and ready wanting to be serviced from a corporate services angle or from a tax point of view or from a legal point of view, it's what we do at Promethean as well. We service them from a 360-degree angle. And the evolving landscape has provided both an opportunity for us to offer more services, but also a challenge for some clients, because let's face it, with a compliance culture come costs.
Yeah.
Come increased costs. You have your increased position holders within our own firm. So really and truly, we speak about an industry which we saw becoming more and more sophisticated, is the word I would say. Sophisticated in terms of how we plan for our clients from a tax point of view, from a corporate point of view. And Malta has witnessed, like the UK, becoming a financial services centre of prestige. Malta has witnessed a big leap forward in the kind of client we're attracting. Previously, it used to be more geographically positioned, attracting more clients from Italy, for example, from the southern part of the Mediterranean. Nowadays, we attract clients from everywhere.
Yeah, now it's international.
It is international precisely because the ultimate beneficial owners, and this is something that we really focus on as a firm and as a country, I believe, the ultimate beneficial owners of our businesses, of the businesses we service, of our clients, are individuals at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And this latches on to a beautiful point. It latches on beautifully to our global mobility practice, for example. Our global mobility practice focuses predominantly on coaching, is the word I like using, coaching our clients into understanding what they require in terms of residence, in terms of citizenship, in terms of anything which makes their life easier for traveling, safer, and more profitable from an investment point of view. Because global mobility is not just about a visa. Global mobility is not just about obtaining a second passport. A lot comes behind it.
What exactly is in there? What is in this box of global mobility?
I speak very passionately about it, although it wasn't my first area of specialization, because my first area of specialization was corporate tax. As you start meeting people, especially in my position as executive partner of a firm, which has then blossomed into our current brand, Promethean, after the corporate spin-off of my previous firm into Promethean with our current group, global mobility became so much more important, because today we speak about the ultimate beneficial owners of our entities, of our clients, moving around the world with ease. Today, we no longer speak about, I don't know, let's say, the Chinese individual or the person that comes from the UAE. We no longer speak about residence and citizenship in isolation, but many individuals decide to have one or two residencies, one or two passports, because it is what they require. They require it for family purposes, for generational planning, from different angles, amongst also which business requirements. Let us not forget, for example, that obtaining EU citizenship comes with a lot of advantages in terms of access to what the EU offers.
Yeah.
And often we take that for granted because we might be close to the European Union or we might be European Union nationals, but European Union nationality offers many advantages, as does European residence. Citizenship is not for everybody. Sometimes clients opt for residencies because they are easier to obtain, more economical, more viable, and they just need a particular set of rights to which they belong to. Residence and citizenship and global mobility come with different rights. They connote with different abilities, with different generational planning aspects.
Okay.
Because with global mobility does not just come the ability to move around. You speak about generational planning through trusts, through foundations, through certain vehicles that allow, for example, a high net worth family to plan for the generations to come. Global mobility is not just about securing your travel rights or making them more viable, but it's also securing your future for yourself, the safety of your children, the safety of your parents, because residency and citizenship opportunities provide for dependent status. Generally, these dependents would be individuals that are closely related by kin and blood type. So, not blood type as such, blood, I meant kin, not blood type. So generally, global mobility is about that. It gives opportunity to dependents to be able to enjoy the rights offered by a particular program. So yes, I think that nowadays, more than ever, our private clients practice as our tax and corporate practice have become very, very much, they enjoy a very interplayed role. Our departments lies continuously amongst each other. Our associates work together constantly because it is not only the safeguarding of a particular structure, the company, the foundation, the trust, but it's also the safeguarding of the shareholders, of the beneficiaries, of the directors sometimes, of securing the legal and tax and the corporate rights and status that, of course, a particular individual and a particular structure require.
Yeah.
That's our business.
This sounds very holistic.
Indeed, it is.
It does cover every centimeter of the individual's safety, doesn't it?
Indeed, indeed, indeed.
Oh, this is beautiful. And 15 years in the industry, and you've built up such a big machine.
Yes, and it has been an evolving machine, and I pride myself, we spoke about this earlier as well, that some of my legacy clients that I started growing with, both in terms of my expertise and also in terms of experience, some of my legacy clients are still my clients nowadays. And it is beautiful to see how their businesses evolved. For example, I advised a particular high net worth individual family into moving certain aspects of the business into Malta, of moving certain key individuals into Malta as well, also to support the substance of the structure, also in order to be able to have closer contact with their business interests. So we moved them into Malta, this particular family. And it was beautiful to see them, how sophisticated they became after a couple of years when they required an investment fund to manage to professionally manage their assets. So you have the creation of an investment vehicle, which is typically licensed by the Malta Financial Services Authority as a professional investor fund or other vehicle. And you see how sophisticated nowadays certain clients are requiring these solutions, because it's not, you don't wake up in the morning and decide to set up a fund. You have to have the assets behind it, you have to have the necessity, you have to have some of my clients, for example, are very well versed in single family offices. Today they have their family office that takes care of their own investments, takes care of their high net worth assets as well, be it aircraft, be it yachts. That is another practice. As an aside, that is another facet of our practice, catering for everything that the high net worth individual requires, be it from yacht registration, to aircraft registration, to contracts for financing the particular asset. So it is really, really very interesting, and requires different kinds of expertise, both from our lawyers. Today, a couple of months ago, I employed one of our juniors that specialized in tech law and metaverse law. A couple of years ago, I used to be like, what the hell is metaverse? Okay. Nowadays we employ people that are specialized in DLT, double ledger technology. They specialize in blockchain. And it is super, super interesting and fantastic and exciting to see our junior associates, our associates specializing in these areas that to us a couple of years ago were unheard of. Yeah. I mean, when I specialized in international tax myself, many people tell me, what are you doing? What is international tax? Nowadays, I ask the same thing, and I understand the feeling they had when they asked me why international tax. Because when I interview certain younger associates, younger lawyers, I always ask them, why metaverse? What did you find to write your thesis about metaverse? And there is a lot to say about it. Going back to this particular success story that we had, I was talking to you about how we first moved parts of the family into Malta, these individuals, and then we set up this investment vehicle that today invests in different areas of renewable energy. Photovoltaic, they have their own portfolio of securities, they invest in private equity in terms of photovoltaic around the globe. So we've seen them grow from such a dynamic and different angles, that for us, of course, as professionals and as their lawyers, not only lawyers, we became friends nowadays, we go out for dinners together, we discuss ideas, we brainstorm. We really like partnering up with our clients and becoming not only their lawyers, but also the trusted advisors, their confidants, so to speak. I mean, we carry out, as lawyers, sometimes a very, very, very difficult job. It is not always rosy and glamorous and dinners and parties.
No, there are bottles.
There is a lot at stake. There are trusts at stake, there are foundations at stake, vehicles that safeguard privacy, vehicles that safeguard different interests that a family might have. And often you need to balance your friendship with a client with your duty of confidentiality, with your duty of impartiality towards a particular situation. So it's a very, very particular and sensitive role that we play as trusted advisors. I mean, back then we used to talk about, like 15 years ago when I started, we used to talk about a pure law firm. Nowadays, a pure law firm is, I would say, practically impossible to achieve, because nowadays I have my compliance professionals, I have my AML professionals, I have my IT professionals, individuals that support my business from an IT point of view. So when you asked me about why this industry, 15 years of it, 15 years of not boring at all, might I add, very exciting. Apart from the deal closing, which gives me the adrenaline rush that I need to be able to carry out my business, and meeting people, constantly meeting people. I love it. I love meeting people. I love the interfacing with different cultures and different kinds of people and their moods and how to tackle. It's such an experience. It's so enriching, really and truly. But not only that, the industry has grown to appreciate that nowadays we speak about multidisciplinary firms. Multidisciplinary firms in terms of how we carry out our practice, also cleverly how we can make and offer more services to our clients, be it accounting services, audit, VAT, income tax, you name it, because a structure not only requires that personal touch when it comes to a contract, that individuality when it comes to structuring a private instrument, a private deed, but it also requires compliance in terms of both legal compliance and your daily accounting, your income tax, your VAT. So the multidisciplinarity, so to speak, of our practice gives us the opportunity to really service clients holistically, as you rightly said before.
Yeah, roughly, how many clients did you service to date within those 15 years? Just like, give me the rough number. I understand it's impossible
it
to
is
just
so difficult, because it's so difficult to say, because if I had to, I mean, I predominantly represent clients. Jonathan represents clients more from the tax structuring, corporate structuring, and investment fund law point of view. But I have serviced so many clients in terms of, Jonathan, listen, I want you to work on this contract because I trust you, because I know you have your team, but you've known us for so long. We want you to take care of this contract. So I wouldn't know. Hundreds, easily hundreds, because 15 years of doing, and I still remember, I still cherish those experiences when I was a trainee. You learn so much, and that is what I tell my own trainees today, my own associates, my own junior associates. You learn so much from being at the basic level of the structure and the foundations. And your willingness to learn, your impetus to achieve, the drive you have as a young associate is so important. It is so important for you to be able to grow in one's career, to grow in your position, and to identify sometimes that something is not for you. For example, at the very early stages of my career, when I used to practice in court, when I used to do my court practice, I identified straight away that litigation wasn't for me. Although many people tell me you'd be an excellent litigant, it just wasn't for me. The civil criminal litigation sphere wasn't for me. Today, we have a senior litigator on board at the firm that does that, together with other things, but her main focus is that. You know what I mean? And you learn that in Italian, because we have our office in Milan, so speaking Italian comes second nature. We say, il mondo bello perché vario. The world is beautiful because it's so varied, you know?
Yeah.
And that's law. So many different dynamics, many different facets. It's beautiful. It gives you the opportunity, if you really want to say, listen, today I want to specialize in international tax. I've done 5 years of it. It's not for me anymore. I don't like it anymore. So let me do something else. Today, the world as it stands gives you the opportunity to be able to use your legal knowledge, use your skill set to be able to enter into different worlds, enter into different specialities. Just because if there is an interest, where there is a will, there is a way, and there is a lot of work in the industry. So moving from one area to the other is sometimes healthy, both for yourself and also for a day-to-day. People get bored of doing the same thing all the time.
Yeah.
I, for example, used to specialize for a number of years on international tax structuring only. Today, it's still a part of my business, of what I do personally, but there's so much more to what I do on a daily basis. So.
No, certainly. And with the appearance of the new businesses, like fintech businesses, like cryptocurrency, it's just, it goes into a different scale.
It goes into a completely different arena, because all of a sudden you need to, and I love this. So this is something which is a bit personal, which I do every week.
Okay.
Every week I dedicate some time to reading, because if I don't read, I will not keep up. There is a lot of regulation coming in at the European level from a tax point of view, from an AML point of view, so I constantly need to adjust myself. But also, for example, this fintech, this AI, terms that even 3 years ago we weren't accustomed to. So today, when we have automated processes in the firm, which sometimes replace human functions at the very basic level, previously we never thought about these things. Previously we had our associates checking every single document and passport and utility bill. Nowadays there are systems which do it for you in less time, more efficiently, but not cutting out the use of the employee. Because the employee is to be espoused to automated processes such as artificial intelligence, whatever you wish to call it, or these automated processes, because an employee has consciousness, an employee has emotional intelligence. So although you can replace the employee function at a very basic level through these new so to speak, tools, you can never replace the human function.
No,
That is something I'm very strong about. And when people ask me, but don't you think that lawyers will be redundant in certain areas where, no, of course they won't. Because they will not be able to replicate the judgmental, the judgment call that you need as a human being to make when you are dealing with individuals.
Exactly.
Because at the end of the day, it's a machine dealing with an individual, but it is not an individual dealing with another individual.
Exactly.
So that is something which we need to keep in mind when we talk about all these fancy new areas of law. The European Union is also legislating about it, making sure that while espousing artificial intelligence mechanisms, we are protected from a privacy law point of view, the GDPR issues that come entangled with such issues. So there's a lot behind it. There's a lot of thought behind it. It's certainly creating a lot of opportunities and jobs for people to legislate about it, to write about it, to speak about it, you know. So it's certainly creating a buzz, but let us not be absorbed by that buzz, because we need to keep level-headed and remember that people functions cannot be replaced. So that is my
Can I just
My
say
too.
thank you so much, because you are the first professional that actually is on board and that actually is believing that AI and the technology can support the human.
Support, that's the right word.
Support,
Support,
not
support.
replace.
Definitely
support.
not,
Go
definitely
hand
not.
in hand and
Definitely
make the services much better, much healthier.
Correct.
Less stress.
Sharper as well, and yes, it's value added. Today we speak about value added propositions. What are we? Before we used to talk about companies to minimize the tax burden at this level and the trust here. And today we speak about what are you adding to not only your business, not only towards your shareholders, what value adding you to your shareholders as a business, but what value are you adding to society? What are your CSR responsibilities. What are your environmental responsibilities? Today, our business has become so multifaceted, especially if it grows to a certain magnitude, that the sky is the limit from where to start analyzing a particular issue. Today, you need to take into consideration how your business fends and how it supports itself in an environment from an environmental aspect. Are you environmentally friendly? How is your business environmentally friendly, or how is it not environmentally friendly? And you need to make it like that. Are you supporting your community? Are you engaging into activities which promote your corporate social responsibility? So it's not just about giving a donation. It's a lot of things to think about. It's not just about giving a donation. For example, recently I've been involved in something which is very dear to me, the setting up of an NGO. We're currently working on it to support dogs, because there's a real problem in Malta with stray dogs and stray animals. So we're supporting this particular person, this particular individual who is very, very warm about and very passionate about the subject in setting up this particular venture, this particular initiative. And we're doing it from a CSR point of view, pro bono, because that's who we are. We want to give something back to society. Now, be it our pets or be it our animals that are not in a situation where they are being loved enough or whatever, we need to be socially responsible. We do not live as an island. Our businesses are part of a community, and that is also something we're very proud of, and we wish to also encourage other businesses, apart from ourselves, to embark on.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Now, when you are building a business which actually helps the society
Completely.
and helps the earth to grow and helps
Yes.
the society to develop and get the maybe even like homeless people out of the streets and things like that, you know, it's amazing. I'm so happy
We'll
that
try our
you guys
best.
exist.
We'll try our best.
It's beautiful. Where do you think the industry is going in the next decade?
That is a very, very difficult question to answer, particularly with the milieu, with the huge amount of regulation that we are seeing in terms of different aspects of our business. Promethean, let me talk about my firm as it is, and let me try and demystify what your question comprises. Promethean predominantly caters for four aspects of our business: our corporate and tax and legal. So our corporate, tax and legal merge very nicely into each other because of our contract practice and the legal aspect of dispute resolution, which is very much accompanied then by the underlying tax issues that the structure has. So that is our corporate aspect. That is the global mobility aspect. Then there's our financial services practice, which is our investment services and funds practice. And then there's also our trust foundations and high value assets. So telling you how all this is going in the next 10 years is not going to be possible in the next hour. Definitely not. But let's try to demystify it. Definitely, we're seeing that Malta is pole positioning itself into a fantastic position in terms of supporting, for example, startup industries. Because at the fundamental core of it, a business needs to start somewhere. And Malta has really recognized, for example, through the Startup Residence Program that has been launched recently, that you need to support these people. You need to support these people, these entrepreneurs, these visionaries, in creating businesses that add a value proposition to what they are doing. So we're no longer speaking about the one-man band consultant giving advice on his computer and setting up a company to be able to take, advantages at different levels of our tax legislation. Today we speak about value proposition of individuals moving into Malta, relocating into Malta. We saw the introduction of both the Startup Residence Program, which our government and the Maltese government has successfully implemented into our legislation, and also espoused by the Nomad Residence Program. Attracting a pool of talent. So let's start answering the question: where do I see our industry going in the next 10 years? It is definitely focused on talent, on individuals that wish to push themselves to achieve better, to strive new levels, to get somewhere where they aspired, where they only aspired to be a couple of years before. You'll have the 16-year-old, the 17-year-olds, so savvy these days. Nowadays, a 5-year-old knows how to use an iPad or a form of technology that was completely alien to me. Sometimes I still struggle with my own phone. It has so many functions in it, so, And these days, as a 15, 16-year-old, is so savvy with technology that you start wondering, wow, where can this person take himself, herself, if they studied, if they applied themselves, if they were given the opportunity to obtain seed funding.
Yeah.
So that is all about the Startup Residence Program. For example, you're encouraging individuals to go into their desired area of expertise, of operations, but also the Maltese government setting up different initiatives. For example, from the VC fund point of view, we saw that there were funds being allocated to these kind of initiatives. Big conferences happening in Malta from the gaming side, from the fintech side, from the payment services side. So that is where we're seeing the industry grow. The industry is growing. The industry is all about tech. The industry is all about payment services, the value added proposition through technology, blockchain, these new areas which have and are becoming more important in our day-to-day. So where previously these areas were limited to those companies that specialized in and or gave a particular service, nowadays we see the application of blockchain, we see the application of certain AI measures in our day-to-day processes. And more, which goes back to your question, more and more we will see this becoming day-to-day matter. The implementation of certain tools in our day-to-day living. And that is where we're seeing our businesses. So today, we see many individuals, for example, a particular client very dear to me, who we assisted in structuring a particular corporate structure for his application, his online application.
Okay.
And we obtained IP rights for him and IP protection. So we serviced it from both the corporate angle, from the IP angle, registration of logos. So again, we are seeing these new ventures, this new wave of young entrepreneurs, very savvy entrepreneurs that today have an idea. Tomorrow, they structure their idea into a corporate vehicle. In 5 years' time, you know what they'll be doing with that idea? Selling it, exiting, and making a lot of money. Because that's what we're seeing. It's beautiful. And even when we are talking about our own businesses, we are seeing, even in the industry, for example, the financial service industry, the gaming industry, we are seeing a new wave of M&A, of mergers and acquisitions, consolidation of the market.
Yeah.
Bigger players purchasing smaller players, enriching the market, giving more expertise, achieving economies of scale. And economies of scale as a driving force that, again, going back to your question, over the next 10 years, I'm seeing happening.
Yeah.
Consolidation, market consolidation. We saw this market consolidation, for example, from a little bit of an unrelated aspect in our services as well, in our industry, from the corporate angle, from the company service providers angle, where in Malta, after the introduction of certain legislative amendments, many smaller players felt that they should either downsize their licensing requirements or merge into a new structure. For example, our legal tax, international tax, and trustee practice merged into this global reality, might I add, because today Promethean forms part of a truly global reality, whereby we are affiliated with companies that do capital raising for governments, that do provide services analogous to ours in other jurisdictions. So So really and truly, operating alone as a corporate service provider, as a company service provider, is no longer viable, really and truly, because you need to look at yourself, even as a company, as a part of a puzzle, and not shy away from the fact that you are just that, a piece of a greater puzzle. And many people sometimes, I feel, fail to understand that this is full of opportunity. It's exciting. You are not a one-man show. You are not no man is an island. And many professionals sometimes think that they've done so much with the 15 years of experience and the 20 years of experience that they don't need to learn more, perhaps, or be nimble enough to absorb new realities. Big mistake. Big mistake. I love learning new things. I love evolving my business in a different way, particularly because I don't see myself, first of all, retiring anytime soon. And secondly, speaking colloquially about it, this industry gives me a buzz. I like it. I enjoy it, the deal closing, the meeting different people from different walks of life. And everyone has a different necessity. You meet individuals that today wish to set up companies from in technology to supporting different causes that they are passionate about. So you really have a varied spectrum of individuals and companies that you can service. So again, in 10 years, I see the industry developing into a more of a value-added proposition industry, whereby law firms like ours, company service providers like ours, will be servicing companies which have a much higher added value proposition in terms of the employees that they're going to be employing, the local substance, very important, having local substance in Malta or wherever you are setting up. We, for example, service certain clients through our partners in Dubai. And again, substance is becoming the buzz phrase. Do you have enough substance? Are there employees? Are there essential people functions? And legislation coming out to support this kind of framework. Legislation, for example, we have seen recent legislation in Malta, which was alien to the Maltese tax and legal system, the introduction of transfer pricing legislation. Transfer pricing, when I was studying tax, when I was still studying and specializing, was unheard of in Malta. We used to say we don't have transfer pricing legislation in Malta. Now transfer pricing legislation has become effective as at 2024, and it basically caters for realities that happen between associated enterprises. Okay, so different companies that operate in a global infrastructure. And these transfer pricing arrangements and this transfer pricing legislation that caters for transfer pricing arrangements is important to ensure that you have real commercial and economic substance in a particular structure, because it's very easy to set up different companies doing different things and trying to erode and deflect profits. That's not a science in itself. The actual science, which is transfer pricing, is ensuring that companies act as they should in order to be able to achieve real economic and commercial substance. And for example, that is a particular anti-avoidance mechanism that was alien to Maltese law and is now part of our legislative system, also with the frame of mind that Malta becomes more and more a value-added jurisdiction where we have clients that are serious about setting up their businesses in Malta because they believe that Malta is the ideal jurisdiction for substance creation. Malta is competitive on different levels in this particular line of thought. We're competitive in terms of costs. We have a very, very responsive regulator. The Malta Financial Services Authority is a very responsive regulator. Kudos goes to them because they are our single regulator that regulates everything practically, from banking supervision to capital markets to funds. And they do a great job because they are responsive. Because if you need something, it's easy to get a meeting with a senior official where they understand you, where they try and provide you with clear steps to try and find a solution. And that is fantastic. Having a regulator that supports the industry and that supports you in a certain manner that you feel like the regulator is acting on your side, as opposed to sometimes feeling that the regulator is, stifling your business endeavors. It's fantastic. It's great. You go to work and say, listen, I am confident that I can pitch a product, pitch a structure to a client, knowing that the regulator is by my side, and doing so in the most streamlined and cooperative fashion.
Yeah.
So Malta is well positioned in that as well.
And it's one of the, I would say it's maybe the only country which does it.
It's not the only country which does it,
No, but which does it at this
yes,
level.
at this level.
clearness.
Yes, I agree. You couldn't have said it better. I don't really operate in other jurisdictions and other regulators as such, but my colleagues in other jurisdictions always compliment the manner in which the Malta Financial Services Authority has carried out its functions over different jurisdictions. For example, of course, our regulator cooperates with other regulators in Europe, cooperates with other regulators around the world, and I have had a lot of good about our regulator in terms of how professional and how robust our legal infrastructure is when it comes to our regulator. And this is not born over a period of 2 days. There's a lot of a regulator. At the end of the day, there's a trust involved. There's like an empowerment exercise even from the regulator to attract more enterprises in Malta, and so
making it grow.
it's making it grow, making the industry grow, making the professionals grow, and for example, and something which is completely encouraged and commendable is the fact that our regulator, the Malta Financial Services Authority, also organizes training for professionals, takes organized training in terms of newly introduced regimes for professionals that professionals need to abide with and abide to. So really and truly, it's not like the regulator introduces new regimes of regulation without essentially guiding professionals. Professionals are handheld, and that is what makes the difference between one regulator and the other. It's very easy for a government, through its legislative mechanisms, to implement legislation, the regulator implementing it then and leaving the professionals like wonder, what am I to do with all this regulation? In Malta, that is not the case. We are very, very handheld in terms of, and coached as well, in terms of making a better use of our regulation. And it is important because the professionals grow, the compliance culture grows, compliance is no longer viewed as an enemy, but as a support in buttressing a particular structure, and buttressing a particular client. So if the regulator goes hand in hand with the practitioners, really and truly, it's creating an environment where professionals and clients can grow hand in hand, which is very, very good in my opinion.
They're nurturing the soil.
Completely,
the seeds
yes.
To grow.
Completely. Beautifully put, Paulina. Beautifully put.
Amazing, absolutely amazing. I feel like there is a lot of information that we've just got through.
A lot of information. There's so much more that we can talk about.
Yeah, maybe there is a last piece of advice that you want to. I mean, obviously, we're going to meet you again very soon.
For sure, hopefully, it will be my pleasure.
Yeah, for the new future updates in the
Excellent.
industry. But for now, what piece of advice would you give to business owners mainly regarding your industry? How should they see it? Or what would you
Well, I like being associated with mentorship. I like being associated with assistance, less so being like a teacher. I don't, I try, even though I still lecture sometimes at university, I try and move away from taking the lecturer role with clients and with my fellow colleague professionals. But my piece of advice is, do not be scared to innovate your businesses. Do not be scared to work with other professionals. The more you hold your cards to your chest, the more you think that competition is going to run you out of business, the more you will run out of business. Because competition is healthy. I work with so many different professionals on so many different projects, just to ensure that the client, A, gets a better solution, and B, that we're more efficient. My associates are not experts in every single little thing. Sometimes you require an outsourced service. And it's beautiful to work with other professionals, and it is also responsible in doing so. You assume responsibility for your client. So my piece of advice is, let's work together to make the industry better, healthier, a safer space for everybody to work in, but also an innovative one, because innovation breeds creation.
Thank you
Perfect.
so much for coming, Jonathan.
Thank you for this opportunity, Paulina.
Awesome. Have a lovely day.